Each day, more and more people are listening to music on Spotify, and that's also true for podcasts. Next time you're on the Spotify app, make sure to follow Thrive Loud with Lou Diamond. Enjoy listening to Lou, his incredible guests, and all of the amazing episodes. Listen, follow, and share. Thrive Loud on Spotify.
So here's how it works. You take the blue pill, the story ends, you wake up in your bed, and you believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill, you listen to Thrive Loud, and Lou shows you how deep the rabbit hole goes.
Get ready to Thrive Loud with Lou Diamond.
Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Thrive Loud with Lou Diamond, connecting you to the most inspiring and amazing people that are thriving each and every day. I'm your host, Lou Diamond. Today on Thrive Loud, we have a woman that rose to the highest levels of corporate America over the last 30 years. Having tremendous support from her family, she has worked to deliver innovative benefits to help women succeed in the workplace and at home. Yet recognizing more needed to be done, she left the corporate world to focus on efforts to reinvent it as a more welcoming, more supportive, and more equal environment, a place where women could thrive. Starting to get why she's on the program, listeners. She then created something called the Reserve Squad, which you're going to hear all about today. Thrive Loud listeners, Teresa Tanner. Teresa, how are you today?
I'm great. How are you?
I am so spectacular. And I love this story about what you've done, but I've gotten a little bit of a preview of it, having checked out all your links and stuff and info, but our listeners would love to hear more. So talk a little bit about how this has always been a big focus of yours for years, has it not?
Sure. Yes, absolutely. I love women. I love women. They're just kind of my jam. And I think there are so many rock star women out there. But unfortunately, we don't have enough in leadership and we're making really slow progress. So during my 30 years in corporate America, I did everything I could to try to lift as I climb, pull other women up with me, pave the way for them to make it a little smoother. And, I was happy that we were making some incremental steps forward. We were really, I think, paving the way in ways that we hadn't before. However, it just wasn't enough. And I got to the point when I had reached the levels I wanted to reach, got the titles I wanted to get, win all the awards, get the money, all of that, that I said, I want to wake up every day and make this 100% of what I do, because as much as I am able to focus on it in corporate America, it's just a very, very small part of my job. And I really think that we need to think very differently about this, and we need to make bold moves forward to really change the game.
Okay, let's talk about the game here, because I recognize that certain industries have had a depletion of women from the onset and still very much today, and others better than others, from the makeup of maybe products or whatnot. But I'll even argue that that perception isn't always really what reality is.
Mm-hmm.
Teresa, give a little bit of from your scope, because you've been a successful executive for a long time, of the different range of industries you've worked in to help people understand like what the lay of the land looks like, so that they can understand where you're coming from your experience.
Sure. Well, I spent the last 15 years in banking. So that was kind of my last stint. Before that, I spent almost 20 years in McDonald's Corporation. So very, very different industries. The QSR industry, where there was a lot of frontline minimum wage workers, large, complex, international, global company, to a regional bank. And so, across all of those industries, Lou, there's some commonalities. And, one of the things that we see over and over again is it's just harder for women to have the same speed, velocity, and progress as men. And most often, the reason it is harder is because women really struggle to balance it all in that mid-career phase. And most often it's around child care.
Yeah.
and raising families and that choice to have families. And we've talked a little bit about it, and there's, all kind of solutions being offered, all the way from just lean in to ask for help. But the fact of the matter is, some women either have no other choice or they consciously choose to leave the workforce for a period of time.
Right.
But when they do, the consequences are so severe. They lose their networks, they lose touch with their company. Often their skills get outdated, and they may even lose their confidence after being isolated for 3 or 4 years. And so, even when women do try to get back into the workforce, sometimes they're just lost and they don't know how to navigate back, or they re-enter the workforce way underdeployed or underemployed. I mean, I've seen, women making $100,000 come back and, they're making minimum wage at Starbucks.
Yeah.
And it's really, really devastating. And I think we have to think about it differently.
I want to talk about thinking about things differently, but also reacting to things that we've all been hit with. And that is obviously the time we're recording this, December of 2020. We
Yes.
just finished a very unique year in the sense that the whole world got to see what it was like to work at home with kids in the house.
Yes. Unique is one way to say it, right? Yeah.
Teresa, I want to ask the question. Could this maybe this could be, in the weirdest of ways, one of the best things that could have happened to getting more women working in the workplace, because so many people got hit with it that it can be done? Is this something that you're seeing from your seat right now with what's going on?
Well, it's crazy. It's crazy, Lou. I started thinking about this solution about a year ago. And first of all, let me just explain quickly what the solution is.
Yeah.
So Reserve
I was
Squad,
building up to it. I was
Yeah,
trying.
yeah.
I figured I'd get there. But go ahead.
So-
Share the solution. Let it out of the bag already.
Sure. It'll help with my comments. So Reserve Squad, we aim to build a new structure, a new work force, a new working class within a corporation. So today we have traditional roles of full-time. You can be a full-time employee, you can be a part-time employee. Some companies even have, flex time or job sharing. But unfortunately, all of those options require you to fit within the company's framework. It's not really a freelance or a gig type of lifestyle where you can plug in when and how you are able. But we think that companies should build this capability within their infrastructure. They should build a reservist work code where, instead of women leaving altogether, if they've worked for them before and they say, hey, I got to step out for a few years, the company says, well, don't leave us altogether. Why don't you join our reserve squad? And while you're there, we'll keep you connected to what's going on at the company. You can be great brand ambassadors for us. And by the way, we will solicit you first for our contingent, our freelance, our short-term project needs versus going to, other outside contingent labor firms. And we know that companies spend just millions and millions of dollars on contingent labor. And
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't they rather spend those monies on people that have already worked for them? So this is a new way that companies can retain that talent, keep them engaged and contributing while they're going through different life stages, and then welcome them back into more traditional work when their family circumstances have changed.
Yeah.
So all of that to say, I thought this was a great idea a year and a half ago. It was a way to continue that talent pipeline. But then fast forward to 2020, and we've got women dropping out of the workforce like crazy. Over 2 million women have left the workforce this year. In September alone, 865,000 women dropped out of the workforce. They're saying that this is a significant crisis. Fed Chair Jerome Powell said this could be one of the worst implications of this pandemic, is we could go back 10, 20 years in female representation in the workforce. So we've got to do something different. And, now is the time. We're losing women. But, also to your point, we view these jobs so differently now. I kind of laugh. There were CEOs and executives that 2 years ago said, oh, those kind of jobs can never be done at home. They have to be done in an office. Well, guess what? A lot of those jobs are now being done at home.
Yeah, well, that's where my head was
crazy,
going. Yeah,
right?
That's where I was going with this. And that I just read something that Google was potentially considering a situation where you could work 3 days in the office and 2 days at home.
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, many other companies are looking at this as the way that they'll do things because they were able to show that it worked. So I'm agreeing with you that the whole workforce, by the way, got hit. Women and men got pulled out. But
Yes,
women,
absolutely.
and because of most women are taking care of their children and having to deal with the very complicated schooling issue, which took place this year. I'm sure that was a big part of it as well, along with the job
Right.
losses that were out there. But I'm almost thinking that it's reinventing the way that you're thinking about work and might improve the gender balance because you can work remotely and women won't be taken out of the workforce having to be at home because they can get back in a different way. That's where I was leaning. And I'm hoping that's the case. What do you think?
Right. Absolutely. I mean,
Yeah.
this allows, first of all, a tether back into the organization, but it also allows a company to leverage talent in ways that they're not leveraging them today.
Right.
And technology is going to enable that. It also, you mentioned both men and women. The other thing that I'm excited about with this Reserve Squad solution is I'm hoping that more men and more dads feel confident to also make that bold decision to step away from their career, and what are the implications for families and diversity if that starts happening more. I have a personal situation
Yeah.
where go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, share your story because I think that might help enlighten the situation even better.
Yeah, so my husband actually, this was 10, 12 years ago. Our kids were in high school. And it just got to be too much. I was on so it was about 15 years ago. I was on a fast track to get to the C-suite, but I couldn't do that and have two kids and have, kids and all these activities. And, he made the sacrificial decision to do that for our family and to stay at home. And it's tough because it's still not socially acceptable. At least people expect that women may take that career break. And even though it is harmful to the resume, some women and some companies can overcome that, but it's a lot harder for men. And it's just, we don't have the same level of choices and equity for men as we do for women.
Yeah. I'm looking at it because, as you mentioned, you worked in banking, you worked at Fifth Third for a very long time, and obviously McDonald's before that. I worked in financial services, and one of the most interesting things that happened specifically during the shutdown, I live just outside of New York City, Teresa. So there were all these Wall Street people who were working from home. And
Mhm.
not only were they working from home, which is a big thing that Wall Street always said you couldn't be able to do, when in banking they did the same. But they were doing it very successfully. Like they were doing it really, really well in that very short window of time. And people were reassessing how much real estate they needed, how big trading floors should be. And
Mhm.
what I also found was interesting is that they were pulling people in from, places that they never would have pulled in from different locations, from geographies. The most recent news in financial services is that Goldman Sachs is moving to Florida, like their asset
Mhm.
management division, because it doesn't really matter where they are. That's what they're really doing,
Right.
because the money's there, but that's not important. But all this is happening. There's so many of these changes that came out of the world that we're in today, and more awareness. I think it's really important what you're doing with Reserve Squad is because, yes, these changes are happening, but we don't want to lose that momentum, which was to try and figure out what needs to be changed to position women more appropriately in the higher levels of companies. And that's what I wanted to ask you. What are some of the tactics that you're doing, Teresa, to change the way that things have been going, not just with Reserve Squad, but even the way that part of that is helping to inject that philosophy across corporate America and other businesses?
Well, I think we have to, the workforce is changing. The modern workforce that we have today, was it goes back 100 years when, Ford was really the company that took us to this Monday through Friday, 9 to 5
Mm.
type of mentality. Before that, there were no labor laws, and, work was kind of around the clock, and there was no structure. And so the structure that we're working in today is about 100 years old, but it doesn't work for modern society. It definitely doesn't fit the modern technology and accessibility that we have today. It doesn't fit the modern family, and it doesn't fit women. And so what I think this year has given us is an ability to see a unique way to approach work. And I honestly don't think that we can put this back in a box. I don't think our employees are going to let us put this back in a box. If
Right.
this would have only been 2 or 3 months, okay. But we're going to be well into this for a year, and people are going to show that, hey, I've been able to do my job and achieve great results in the midst of all of this. And so, why do you need me in the office? Why do we need to work this way? And I think it really could be a catalyst for us to look at how we engage with the labor market in the future.
Yeah, I totally agree with you there. How much do you love doing what you're doing every day right now?
Oh my gosh, I am just living the dream. I wake up every day and it's just so awesome. I mean, I had a great career. I had a great job. I loved all the companies I worked for, but to wake up every day and to really follow your passions and work on mission, it's just incredible. I'm just so happy.
So I love asking guests on the program this question, Teresa. Very interesting to see where this goes. Uh, like you just said, you're living the dream each and every day, and you've had a real successful career, and you're also helping women thrive in the workforce and helping them in their careers develop, which is awesome because that means that you are thriving on most days. However, all of us have off days when we're not quite kicking on all cylinders or we're not quite on our A game.
Oh, sure.
Teresa, when you have trouble thriving, who or what practice do you seek to get yourself back on the thriving track?
So I'm all about relationships with my God, relationships with my friends, with my family. So for me, I have to kind of go back to my why. What's important, and it's always my faith. It's my family. It's me keeping focused on the mission and why I'm doing things. That's how I get myself recentered, and remember, why I'm doing what I'm doing. And I think that is such a common reason why people face burnout is because they don't remember why, and I think we've all had those times in our life where we're like, why are we doing this? This is so painful, right? So you have to keep that why front and center.
So let's do this, Teresa. You do the admin part of the show right now. Share with the listeners all the places people can find you, the Reserve Squad, links, socials, websites, all that fun stuff. We'll put it all in the show notes, but it always gets more engagement when they hear it from you.
Oh, sure. So definitely reservesquad.com is our website. And then we're on all the social channels. You can find us at My Reserve Squad on Facebook and Instagram, LinkedIn. LinkedIn is just Reserve Squad, and Twitter.
Awesome. Permission to go down Fun Street, even though you and I have been having fun from the very beginning. Is that okay?
Sure.
Okay.
That would be awesome.
Share with the listeners one of your all-time favorite movies, if you could.
Okay. Don't make fun of me.
I won't.
It's a Disney movie.
There's nothing wrong with Disney movies.
Lion King.
Oh.
Lion King is amazing. I could watch Lion King over and over again. It's amazing. It's about family. Go ahead.
I was going to say the animated one or the more recently remade one. I know they did some kind of cool graphics one. I think you're going back to the original Lion King.
The original one.
Okay.
The original one, right. It's full of family. It is full of faith, things that are bigger than us. It's our place in the world. It's about doing good. It's about failure and shame, friendships. I mean, it's just, that movie has it all. You just can't help but feel good when you watch it.
It even has Hakuna Matata, which is always a very good thing, right?
It does. And yes, thank you. Thank you for reminding me. It also has amazing music.
It's really good. I had the pleasure of not only seeing those movies myself and then rewatching them with my kids when they were little, but also taking them to see it on Broadway. And that was quite interesting.
Oh, amazing. That is one of my favorite musicals on Broadway too. It's amazing.
Okay. So the way we do this next part of Fun Street, it's kind of like the speed round. I'm going to ask you something that, I just want you to think really quickly first thing that comes to your mind. These are things that lift you up, make you feel good, basically make you thrive. Ready to roll?
Sure.
Okay.
Yes.
A song you love to hear or that pumps you up.
Okay. So RESPECT,
All
Respect
right.
by Aretha Franklin.
Love it.
Yes.
Favorite food that's not a dessert.
Oh, bread for sure.
Favorite dessert.
Cherry pie.
An activity you wish you did more of.
Probably exercise.
An activity you wish you did less of.
Wow. Housework.
Teresa, if you could snap your fingers and go anywhere in the world, where are you?
The Rockies.
I like it. If there was one dream that you could see as a result or goal that happened from Reserve Squad, what would that be for you?
It would be more moms thriving as professionals and mothers.
Teresa Tanner, thank you so much for coming on Thrive Loud today. Reserve Squad, I think it's a great initiative. I think you're bringing a lot of great things to the world. And I'm hoping that a lot of women will start to follow your lead.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, Lou.
You got it. And to all our listeners out there, thank you for joining us. And until next time, keep thriving onward and upward. And remember, be brief, be bright, be gone.
You've been listening to Thrive Loud with your host, Lou Diamond. Check us out on the web at thriveloud.com and follow us on Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, and Facebook at Thrive Loud. And check us out on the Good Pods app at Thrive Loud, where you can follow, listen, and connect directly to Lou and all of the Thrive Loud episodes. Thanks for listening.